So welcome to the Spotlight, everybody. Today we have showrunner and director, producer, Ebonice Atkins. How you doing, Ebonice?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fine during this Corona time.
Oh, there you go. Ebo.
Yes, Ebo is short for Ebonice because it's Ebo in the word nice. So if you break it down, that's what Ebonice spells.
I love it. So we're gonna jump right in. So how did you get started just in general as far as wanting to be in the entertainment field? What got you in?
So I started out in the television creation industry literally when I was probably 15. I knew I wanted to do this when I was around 10 or 11, 12, because I was always carrying around a disposable camera or creating something or making a show in the living room. And in high school, I went to a magnet program school called South Cobb High School. It's actually in Austell, Georgia. And they had a magnet program for television and film and science. And the science portion you got college credit for. So it was pretty great. We had an awesome teacher, Ms. Watson, who is still amazing to this day and still teach students about film.
Mm-hmm.
And being in that class in high school was just great because we were able to go to film competitions. I learned how to work on Final Cut Pro before I was out of high school. And remind you, this was way in 2000. So, but the program, they actually brought in someone from the Apple Store to teach us how to use Final Cut Pro. And we were working on non-linear to linear before they switched over to now what everyone is doing now. But it was great. I mean, we had the morning news, but it wasn't like a low grade morning news. It was a super for real CNN type morning news. Yes. Okay. So we had really great content and shows that we were making as students. So that's how I first got introduced into just how to organize and make anything come together as material or content or a small show idea and things of that nature. And then after I left high school, I went to Clark Atlanta University, and where I have a bachelor's degree in mass media arts concentration in television. And there I majored in television film, and it was great. I had a lot of awesome internships. I must say that I've learned a lot of things more so from my internships and hands-on versus education-wise. I mean, I'm not telling anyone not to go to school. It's all great, but I really learned a lot more hands-on with being with people and learning the craft. Mm-hmm. So when I was at Clark Atlanta University, I had my first internship at Rolling Out Magazine. If anyone is from Atlanta, they know about Rolling Out Magazine.
Yep.
It was an unpaid, for a whole year, it was unpaid. And then they see my work ethic and just how great I was that they brought me on full time as an intern, but paid. It was great. I was there again creating content, and they would send me out with a camera on my own and just go shoot such and such. So being in college, I had the opportunity to film a lot of great people and have personable interviews, just one-on-one interviews. For example, Lloyd. It was a really personable shoot I did with Lloyd. We're rolling out as an intern, and it was just me and him riding in his car. It was just a day in the life with Lloyd, just us hanging out, and going to wherever we were going to go just for that hour so I could shoot enough content to edit. Right. So, I mean, that was great. And from there, I just continued on. I mean, I was already making my own content in my shows and music videos. And just to rewind back a little bit, when I was in high school, I shot Layla Ali. And that was actually, if anybody remember, if they are from Atlanta, when Layla Ali had her last fights here in Atlanta, Georgia, I was able to film her. And that was also because I come from a family of awesome people. My mom does marketing and promotion in music, sports. And another way of how my passion just really became one is to have a mentor and an uncle that has been in the business before. So my uncle, Emmanuel Lewis, most people know him as Webster. He...
That's your uncle?
Yeah.
What the hell? Okay.
So I expressed my interest to him when I was in high school, and when I got to college, he was like, all right, now I see you actually taking this serious. Like, this is what you really want to do. So when I was also in college, he gave me a camera, a Sony. You remember back in the day, the Sony cameras used to be like this.
Yeah.
Now the Sony cameras are like this. But I had a Sony camera that was about this big, and it was for Michael Jackson. Of course, him and Michael Jackson were best friends before Michael passed away.
Crazy.
And and it was a huge case that Michael gave to my uncle. And when you open it up in the fold, you can see like old clippings, news clippings, Jet magazines of them two together. And then in the actual case, it was the camera. So he said, look, if you serious about this, I'm gonna give you this camera for a whole year, and you got to make some content. You got to make something so I can know, where I need to push you and, what I need to tell you. So I did. I took the camera, I shot step shows, I shot like Congress people. I just shot anything that I could to package it into something that was cohesive enough to be anything that someone would watch.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that. And graduated from Clark Atlanta was great. Find a wear, make one. That's our motto. And being able to work for the TV program there again, I was working in a news program. We had a news station, so that was that. But I knew that I wanted to do a little bit bigger. I knew I wanted to make something that was a little bit more creative. My whole life, I thought that I wanted to work in news. And then I actually worked in news a little bit. I'm like, that's not creative like I want to be creative.
It's just saying the facts, right?
Exactly. It's just facts, straight facts. So after I graduated college, I got my first TV job in New York, working on a talk show called The Jeremy Kyle Show. It's actually a UK-based show that's similar to Jerry Springer-ish a little bit, but it's a UK-based show that was filmed here. And I worked on that show for 2 years. Then I worked on Extreme Cheapskates, that was also in New York, and I worked on Jerseylicious, which is also in Jersey/New York. Yeah. So those were the 3 first shows I worked on right after I matriculated out of Clark Atlanta University, and I moved to New York for 2 years to try it. And to be honest, when I got that call to go to New York, I'd never been to New York before. This is on a Monday. Hey, I'd like to offer you this job. You think you can be here tomorrow?
Damn.
Tomorrow? Well, I could be there on Wednesday. Mind you, I'd never been to the city. I didn't know anyone in the city. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was taking a job in New York. So I didn't find anywhere to stay until literally I got to the airport, and I was messaging so many people like, hey, you know anyone that live in New York? I need a place to stay. Like, I'm about to be here for a few months working. And finally someone hit me back and said, hey, my grandma has a brownstone. She's a pastor, and she always let people stay. Wow. I rented a room from her, and I was there in Harlem, Spanish Harlem, for a year. And then in my second year, I moved to Harlem. But to start to get on my feet, it was great. It was a great experience. New York is New York. It's not my favorite city. It's just so busy.
It's hard.
And again, that was also because it was my first time in New York. I had never been to New York. As a country girl, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama, but Atlanta has been my home for a really long time. So just coming from the South to go to New York was such a culture shock to get off the plane and just see so many people and so many different cultures sitting around you.
Yeah, okay.
I came back from New York, actually came back to Atlanta, and worked on the T.I. and Tiny show, the Keisha Cole Family Hustle.
Oh my God, nephew. Shout out to nephew.
Yes. That's the year that Frankie got kicked off the show. I was working on the T.I. and Tiny Paternity Court. It's a DNA court show. Got a call to work on that show, which was in LA. And I had just came back to Atlanta to work on T.I. and Tiny. Now, mind you, that was also like a really big show. So I wanted to work on the show. I'm like, I'm not leaving here early to go across country. I want to be here with T.I. I want to make some good content because I like this show. Yeah. And it was great. Working with the family and creating all that was amazing. And just being able to create things that people like. And after that, I went out to LA to work on season 1 of Paternity Court, which I was also nominated for an Emmy for the first time they were nominated. And then the second season, how about Paternity Court moved back to Atlanta?
So back home anyway. There you go.
Went back home anyway for season 2 and 3. So I worked on the show for 2 more years, and I said, you know what? Season 1 of Paternity Court, I really loved it. I want to move to LA. So during season 3 of Paternity Court, I was just saving a little bit. One day I got on the internet, was supposed to be buying a ticket to a family reunion, saw One Way for $87, and I bought it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And I bought that One Way, and I left 2 weeks later. I started out everyone starts out as a PA. Role. So that was my first job in New York. And after that, like the next season, I got promoted to an associate producer. And when I worked on Extreme Cheapskates, which everyone knows on TLC, it's about really frugal people. They make over $100,000 a year, but put themselves on like a $10 budget a month, go dumpster diving and all kind of stuff. I was an associate producer for there. I was a talent producer for Jerseylicious. Most people remember Jerseylicious from the orange hair, big hair, tan girls. And I was a talent producer there, just working with talent, producing them for the scene, for what's to come. And you're really hanging out with talent all day to produce them for the scene and just make sure that they're ready and things like that. On the T.I. and Tiny show, I was also an associate producer, which as an associate producer, you putting together the scene and what's happening. Granted, the story of the concept of what are we going to do today is there, but how is what we're going to do today is going to get done. So finding the locations, locking that in, and just coming up with the creative elements and props that could be used on set as well. Reality TV just means real people, and TV having a semi-like reality situation that may not happen today. So I think that was a really fun show though. But being able to put together the pieces to the puzzle for everything that the show requires is what the associate producer do. They assist the segment producer and the producer to put together the scene. There is always no I in team, and it takes all of us to get one scene to happen. So that's pretty much what I did on that show. And then going to Paternity Court, I was a segment producer. So court is definitely a little bit different than the reality world because we're dealing with petty claim cases and things like that. And DNA doesn't lie. So working on that show, it was tough. I will say it was tough to work on because you're dealing with real people who want real answers. So imagine knowing the results to someone's test, but they don't shoot till next week. And they told you that I didn't sleep with nobody else. I only had one person. It's like, well, are you sure? So what we do back is, are you sure? Are you sure you did? I just want you to just double check. I'm not saying that you did or you didn't, but just double check. By this time, we already have the results probably, but we have to fish to help them. So it's some people who never met their parents and all they have is, this or that and just trying to help these people out. And it's like you're toying with these people's lives. You're letting them know something that could make or break them. So it was pretty hard to, tell someone that they're not the father, or this isn't your sibling or relative. That's really, really tough because you build such a close relationship to get them to set. And then you hype them up to get them on set, and then you get them off set and they're in tears. So that was, I would say that's a really tough show to work on because you're dealing with real personal lives that can be ruined for, ever.
It's real consequences.
It's real consequences. It's real consequences for sure. So, as a segment producer, we put together those shows, and I put together different type of shows than just the regular type of court cases that they bring on, which is one of my episodes I produced actually got us nominated for the Emmy the season that we were nominated. And it was because I wanted to produce something that was a little bit different, but it was also the same cadence to what the audience was used to. And it was actually a case about a woman that was in the military who her husband was at home and thought she got pregnant overseas before she came back. So in the military service, there's this code gang of married people who have relations only overseas and in the service.
Okay.
So she said it was a gang or it was, a secret club, and I had to find somebody from the secret club. So I found another person in the service that knew about this secret club, and I brought them onto the show. But you know how you work investigative type shows and you watch those and it's like they're hidden. You can't really see them. It's a silhouette, but you see their voice. I lit it like that, so I didn't put him and his line of work in jeopardy as well, but he spoke the truth about what was happening. Right. So because I lit it like that and it was, controversial a little bit, the U.S. military is up here. You never want to talk too bad about them. So that was the episode that got us nominated the second season. I moved up to producer and I worked on more shows as a producer, such as Judge Faith, which is another court show, Hot Bench, which is owned by Judy, which has the 3 judges at the bench. Mm-hmm. Producer over there as well. Mm-hmm. But for Complex Dropping Cash, I was a supervising producer. And Dropping Cash is currently right now on Netflix, and you can go view that. It's really fun. It's like hanging out with the celebrity all day as they splurge on expensive things.
How do you deal with people that aren't traditional, actors or even are on television that often?
It's a little challenge because, and that's why I'm so glad and thankful that I started out in television working with real people who never came on TV before. Because you get a little bit more rawness from them sometimes because they're already unsure, can I do this on TV or not? But it's really being there and comforting them and letting them know the steps of, it's going to be there. I'm literally 5 feet away from you the entire time you're on set. So having them to feel comfortable like that, it's a lot of coaching with them versus the celebrities because they already know what to do. But it is also harder with the celebrities too because you're on their time. Even though you paid them a nice penny to come on your show, we're still rushing because they still have other stuff to do.
Yeah, is it more of like the skeleton crew since you're moving around? Is it kind of like...
It's actually definitely a skeleton crew because it is a run and gun show. We go to at least like 3 different locations in one day. 8 to 12 hours to shoot with them, which is cut down to 11 minutes, 22 minutes for TV time. Well, it definitely was a skeleton crew. Our crew was about the size of maybe 7 to 10 people. It was 2 producers, the EP, your production manager, a PA, give or take. You never know what you can tell a celebrity, hey, you can only bring like 2 people with you.
Yeah.
Well, it was 7. And then so you have to like reevaluate things and try to, make it happen. But that's what I'm great at, like just putting out fires and things like that. But I love shooting with skeleton crews because it's so much more personable and you feel so much more like a family versus a staff of 60 to 200 people that are on the movie set and you don't even know your camera operator's name. Being able to work on the different type of shows that I worked on helped me where I am now. Because if I can't do it with regular people, if I can't put out a fire with regular people, God knows, can you put out a fire with celebrities whose ego is beyond the sky?
And kind of walk us through the chronology of, I got an idea to, it gets greenlit, it's a show.
For sure. And I'll actually backtrack to lead into that question because my the last show I did, I was a showrunner. I have a production company as well, although my Instagram name, most people know it as Dope Camera Girl. Hey, followers who are in right now, we're live with Artist Spotlight.
Yeah.
But yes, the last position I just had was actually being a showrunner for All Def Digital. And that's because I have my own production company as well. And as I was saying, I have a Instagram that's called Dope Camera Girl, but a lot of people didn't know that's actually a production company that focuses and specializes in production and photography services. So there actually All Def reached out to me because they had an idea of just an idea. And they wanted me to develop the idea out and have it to be able to be pitched and to make a deck so that Facebook Watch could then greenlight it and say, yes, we approve this budget for you to go into production. It takes your idea and you have to conceptualize your idea way beyond just bullet points. So after your idea is there, you need to create a deck. And inside of that deck is going to include your title, your log line, a synopsis of what the show is about. It's always really great to include images to help tell the story. A lot of people hate reading words, but they love to see pictures because pictures are words, essentially. So adding in pictures that kind of help go along with what you're trying to do is very great. And then next, we had a host. We had one host, and then we shot 8 episodes. So who's going to be in the 8 episodes and who is the host? You want to have your host page, and then you want to have another page with the different episodes. So this is episode 1, and it's going to have Carrie Boy and Dan Rue, and this is the title, the next one. So you want to be able to put in, you can either bullet out, what the next episodes are going to be, but eventually you're going to expound on that, because eventually you're going to make a show Bible that's going to have everything you did. It's always great to know, where is this going to take place at? Where do you plan on doing this? Where is it going to, where are you going to shoot this? And what's the style and the theme? So the show was called Truth Be Told, and they just say, hey, we were hit up by Facebook because they saw something that we did, and we did a lie detector test on a segment of a show. They want us to do a lie detector test show. Can you come up with us a lie detector test show? Mm-hmm. So then I just came up with some ideas and the way to format it and the title as well. And then once I created the deck for them to send over to Facebook, you have to also include your show budget. So granted, you have this idea, that's amazing, but if you don't have a budget to go along with it, the person you are looking at is like, okay, this is great, but how much will it cost? So having a show budget when you're pitching is really, really great, because that lets your buyer or supporter know how much they need to give in. And if so, if they really like it, what other resources can they dabble into to get the funds for your show? So in order to get a really great budget, I always will suggest bringing in a line producer, because your line producer takes care of everything business-wise for your production company. They know all the legal laws, like what a PA should be paid, how much, what's the bare minimum they could be paid, about, locations and permits and things like that. Just knowing the whole 9 yards. And most of the time your line producer have worked on even bigger shows and have some numbers already in their mind on how much things cost. Mm-hmm. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean you know how much it costs. And you don't want to get the homie down the street to shoot it, because it's going to look like it didn't cost nothing. Yeah. So I think that it's really great to be able to bring on a line producer to help you out with your budget, because essentially, even when you get your show greenlit, if you're the production company that's going to make it, they're going to want to know who's your line producer.
Right. Give me an idea of a typical budget, low end, high end, for with you and your experience of a typical reality show on each end of it.
I mean, if something was staged, anything that's not staged costs more, because you are out and about. And if you're out and about in places like LA, you need film permits. Permits cost. You're on stage set, you don't have to worry about that. That's where we actually was able to save money. But honestly, no show should be made under $150,000. Not one thing should be made under $150,000. You know why? You're going to spend at least $10,000 on a good edit. And this is going off of like a super small skeleton crew digital show. Digital, I don't think it should not be below $150,000, because what's going to happen is you don't just say, here's a check out your checkbook and write them. No, it needs to go through payroll service, so that the taxes and everything is coming out. Like, you don't want to 1099 people, because right now the production world is not really accepting like a lot of 1099 things, really, when it comes to employees that aren't really employees. They're freelancers, but they're your employees, to be honest. So being able to do that is going to help you a lot.
Talking about per episode, right?
No, that's not per episode. That's like overall budget for a small digital type show.
Oh, really? Okay.
For a small digital type show, yes. Because, I mean, you got to imagine if you are producing a show, mm-hmm. and as a producer, your salary, let's just think about salaries. Mm-hmm. As a producer, honestly, you should not be getting paid less than $22,000 a week. I mean, $2,200 a week. So $2,200 a week, okay, times how many weeks is the show? It could be, 1 month. It could be 6 months. But we all know that no TV show runs for real year round, except for like Ellen. So once you multiply that, at least multiply that by 10, that's already $24,000 out of your 150.
Okay.
Now you have producers, you have your EP, you have your producers, you have your associate producers, your PAs, your set photographer, not to mention what's going to cost the most, equipment. You need a DP to work that equipment, and you need probably 2 camera guys as well. Not to mention, you need, something else to assist those people, like an AC that's going to dub all your work to a drive. So that's 10 people on staff already. That's not even including the 11 person who is your line producer, who you always need with you. And yeah, so think about 10 people.
The salaries right there is almost 100.
Give or take your salaries, which is going to take up half of your budget. Now you got to think about, what am I shooting, where am I shooting, and how much is that going to cost? So if you have props, and if it's a stage set, you got to buy some items. You got to maybe get a set designer to come in. I didn't even say you need a set designer, So all of those things cost money. And sometimes even I ran into an era where we went over budget. But we knew we were going to go over budget because we couldn't get the budget that we knew what it took to make the show. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get the budget that you need to make the show, guess what? You're going to go over budget. And because the production company give you X amount of dollars to say, hey, this is the money we're going to give you, make it work. Once you go over, you already made that agreement that you can make it work with this amount of money. So after you go over that amount of money, you have to put in an overage request. And that's to let them know, hey, we went over and this is what that money is used for. They can and they may not give it to you. At first they was like, no, you got to pay for that out of your pocket. And I'm like, ain't no way I can do that. You must don't want to show. We'll stop production right now. So sometimes you got to be hardball and be like, either we can stop production or, y'all can mess the payroll up and then it's going to fall on you. And I mean, it's a tit for tat moment. And because obviously no one wants to continue writing checks. So of course the accounting department are always the hardest people. They're going to always penny pinch.
Yep. So
have to go tit for tat until it's a reasonable outcome in order to finish the production. And that's for something super small and digital.
Okay.
I can guarantee probably like dropping cash had to be like $1 million. I don't know the budget for that show.
Wow.
But if you can look at the show and see, okay, these people spent a lot of money on the show, like.
What makes you look at that show and say, this is expensive? Like,
it's more so because you're paying talent to come onto the show. And you got to realize that when you pay talent to come onto the show, especially music artists, they make $50,000 in one night, maybe doing a walkthrough and singing one song somewhere. They come on your show, they got to waste 12 hours a day on some hurry up and wait stuff. Like, all right, hurry up, we about to get ready to shoot. Okay, wait, we gotta make sure the scene's set. All right, hurry up, we ready, cameras up. All right, wait, somebody on their phone. So it's like it's a hurry up, wait game in the television world, and you don't want to always have that, especially working with celebs. They're expensive, they are expensive.
Got it. Are there back-end money as well that you get?
Sometimes they get a nice kickback from marketing. I mean, from ads and things like that. But honestly, the way most of the shows work, like once your work is done as a producer, your work is done as a producer. It's not like in the music scene where once this song is out, you can get residuals. Every time somebody play it on a ringtone or whatever, you gonna get a check, they gonna get a check, you get a check, like Oprah. And, and it's not like that. And sync something for TV people. Because there's no reason why that if I made something 10 years ago, that the actor is getting residuals, but I don't get residuals. I really think that something like that has to be set up for the TV world soon because, I mean, no one's really getting residuals except for possibly someone from a network, but definitely the actors will.
Yeah. What do you think sets apart the scripts that do get greenlit?
I definitely probably would have to say a lot of people, and I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine. He's a great writer. But a lot of people have awesome ideas and they want to pitch a TV show. And they like, I want Will Smith to be my host. When you go in that pitch meeting, one of the first questions they're going to ask you when you get ready to go to that page that has people, are they on paper? Do you have contact with them? Are they down for this? Because if you got them on lock, then that means a production company don't got to spend extra money to get them on lock or go through an agency to pitch them then to get them on lock. So coming in the door with your talent signed on paper or knowing that they're going to be 100% down is key because you can't, it's bigger than an idea. You know, it's so many things out here that everything is bigger than an idea. And I pitched a lot of shows and they may not have got picked up, but it's so many things that I learned in those pitch meetings that they say is, you know, well, if this person isn't attached or if they are not, then how do you know that they will be a good fit for the show?
Yeah.
Right? And it's actually okay to have a wish list, but you still need to have that one person that you know that's concrete, that you know for sure that they do it. And
Yeah.
then after that, you know, like, this is my host. They may not be as popular as Will Smith or whatever, but this is someone who I have contact with and would be a great host.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, here are some alternate people who are on my dream list that if you guys have access to, obviously make it happen. But being able to go into the door and know about who's going to go on the show. For example, if somebody else wanted to create some other kind of housewives type of show. Oh, I got a housewives show. It's about people being housewives. Well, who the wives? So you have to pitch people who are going to be on the show in your deck. You got to show people that you exist, and you have to put out quality. Not only quality, consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing this, oh, I'm a producer today, I'm a lumberjack the next day, I'm a mechanic the next day, well, what do you do? I just want to make sure, because if I bring you on the team, I want to make sure you're going to stay here, tunnel vision, and you're not going to be everywhere.
Yep.
So I'd say that definitely networking is key. And I teach, I have an online class that's on Teachable that's called Time Out with Dope Camera Girl. It's called Time Out with Dope Camera Girl because all the videos are under 5 minutes. Why? Because when we go to YouTube University, I never watch any video that's over 5 minutes. I'm going to get bored. I'm going to scroll. Like if it's 10 minutes, maybe. Have a whole free course dropping gems. Like that course is really about $500, and I made it completely free because it was my first course, and I want people to learn. Like I learned a lot from free stuff and free knowledge, and I want to give that back. But LinkedIn is key. I've pitched 85% of my shows from meeting people on LinkedIn. I want to blow up the LinkedIn spot right now.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is you have to go to the company you want to work for. Go to people who work for the company. And you don't just hit connect and send a friend request. You got to send a little message with that friend request that you're not going to get accepted by someone who does not know you from a campaign. So being able to send that message, let them know, like, I always send this sweet message. It's like, hey, I'm Ebonice, showrunner, producer located in Los Angeles. I'd love to connect. Long, short, simple, sweet. I kind of told you what I do. I told you where I'm at, and I told you my name, and I told you I'm trying to connect with you. So just being able to use that and using the word connect, that's already a word LinkedIn has. So being able to utilize the terms that LinkedIn have that's visual to the eye that people remember is really great, because that's something that they used to over 1 million TV production jobs, all kind of positions. And I've only gotten one job from applying. All the other jobs have been, hey, this person is dope, word of mouth, I trust them, I'll put my job on the line for this person. That's how the TV industry works. You know why? Because they're going to trust the homie before they trust a stranger with this big budget of a TV show. The way that the TV industry is so close-knit is that it's so personal that if you mess up, man, you're gone. Like, you know, and sometimes the production doesn't have the money to fix the fuck ups. You know, I want to be transparent with people. Like, I don't want you to walk into a room and it's not what I told you it was going to be, or it's not what you thought it was going to be. Like, at least I can prepare you a little bit for the realness, because the TV world is cutthroat. It's a lot of vulgar language. It's a lot of cursing. It's a lot of hurry up and wait and antsy people. So
one piece of advice to kind of get them through if they want to have a career such as yours for spanning over, you know, a decade.
It's not going to be paid. In this new generation, they really don't understand the not paid type of internships that turn into paid. And I pay my interns anyway, but I tell them that it's not paid, because if you're in it for the money, that means you're not in it for the creation of what we're making. I don't need you to be here for the money. I need you to be here as a team. And if it's about the money, that means you need to go corporate, because the entertainment field is not about the money. It's about the growth. The money is going to be here, but it takes consistency, teamwork, and being who you are to show the world that, hey, this is my style of making whatever it is that I'm making, and this is what I stand for.
Awesome. Well, Ebonice, I really appreciate you coming to Artist Spotlight Live and giving us all that information. You're a true inspiration, right from Atlanta, homegrown. So
I have a project coming out soon, and look out for that. And I'll definitely be able to share that with you soon.
and follow Ebonice at
Dope Camera Girl